Hello, Dee Dee here, and it's time for the 2nd of August stories from my book Adventures in Nature. So what I'm inviting you to do is through August is to listen to the story, which I will be telling you in just a moment, take part in the activity which is in my book just here, Adventures in Nature. I'll be telling you what that activity is. If you take part in that activity, if you are able to post it on social media and hashtag it Adventures in Nature book, then I will place all of those entries into a giveaway where there are 3 chances to win a copy of the book. Okay, so the second story for August. What is that story? It is called A New Found Strength. Just outside my back door, there's quite a large pot with a shrub in it. It's a nice shrub and the bees like it too. It's called Skimmia and it's got lots of lovely little sort of pinky white flowers on it. The bees come to and from, and I'm quite used to listening to them humming as they go in and out of the flowers. But what I wasn't expecting when I was sat on my threshold drinking my cup of tea, well, I wasn't expecting to hear voices coming from the shrub. Now, I don't normally expect the plants to talk to me, although they do communicate in different ways. I know that animals speak if you listen carefully. And these were 3 insects. When I looked into the shrub, I could see an enormous, shiny green rose chafer beetle. I could see an even bigger stag beetle with its great big jaws in the shape of stag's antlers. And then next to it, a slightly smaller animal, which was an earwig. They were having an argument about who was the strongest. It was the most peculiar conversation I've ever heard, because the first person to speak was the rose chafer beetle. As he spoke, he was shining his green shell. He was making it glisten in the sun. "I am definitely the strongest," said the rose chafer beetle. "I could climb down to the bottom of this pot and lift it up so that it almost touched the sky. It wouldn't be a problem for a beetle of my size." "Absolute rubbish," said the stag beetle. "Look at the size of my jaws. I would be able to go down the side of the pot and I would be able to lift it up so that it almost touched the sun." "I don't think so," said the rose chafer beetle. "Neither do I," said the earwig. "I could definitely lift this pot higher than the both of you. Look at me with my strong jaws and my lithe little body." "That's ridiculous," said the rose chafer beetle. "Absolute piffle," said the stag beetle. "I can't believe that you would be able to do it. You are far smaller than us. This is a job for big beetles." Now, I think we all know that it's probably a good idea not to take the mickey out of anybody for their size, isn't it? Why, you say? Well, you don't really know what that person is capable of, do you? And well, those 2 big beetles, they had no idea what that little earwig was capable of, did they? They had no right to say that she couldn't do it when actually she hadn't even shown them whether she could or not. And that's exactly what the earwig was about to do. She wanted to show them that she could lift that pot. And do you know what? I don't really like bullies. And those 2 beetles were being bullies to that little earwig. So I thought, well, I'm going to give her a bit of a hand. So when she climbed down that pot and she put her jaws underneath the pot to try and lift the pot, which, let's be honest, she was never going to be able to lift that pot, was she? But then neither were the other 2 beetles either. That pot is enormous, I can tell you. As she went down to the bottom of the pot and pushed her jaws underneath it to lift it up, I took hold of the pot and I lifted it up high. And inside the shrub, I heard the rose chafer beetle and the stag beetle going, "Whoa! She's actually managed to lift the pot." They couldn't believe it. And so by the time the earwig got back up to the top and she sat there on the branch with the rose chafer beetle and the stag beetle, she said, "There, see what I did? I lifted the pot." Well, now the rose chafer beetle and the stag beetle knew that they actually weren't going to be able to do it, that they were just full of bluster, I think is what you would normally say. And so instead they congratulated the little earwig, because none 3 of them, they didn't know what had actually happened. But they knew that the earwig clearly had strength within her. They asked her about her other adventures in the garden, and pretty soon that argument turned into a friendly conversation between those 3 beetles about the wonderful adventures and journeys that all 3 of them had had around the garden. And I tell you what, I never heard 3 beetles arguing in that pot again. I hope you enjoyed that story. Now the activity for that story is to go on a bug hunt. So for this you're going to need a small container that you could gently place your bug in so that you can have a look at it. And you can actually get little pots with bug viewfinders on them as well. So if you have one of those, then that's great. You don't even need a pot at all. You could just go around the garden and have a look under stones, under old pieces of wood, under any leaf litter that you might have left over from autumn. All these things are going to be fabulous places for bugs to hang out. When you've been on your bug hunt, make a little note of what it is that you will find when you're out there. You could find all sorts of things, and if you just have a little Google on the internet, then you will be able to find what sort of things you might find in your garden. And there's also a list in my book. So go out into the garden or your local green space or your local park, have a little look and see what bugs you can find. Take photographs of them and don't forget to hashtag them Adventures in Nature book, and I'll be able to see them and share those adventures with you, and you will be entered into the giveaway to win one of 3 books. Thank you so much for joining me again today. I'm really looking forward to sharing those adventures with you and more stories. I'll be back next week with another story which is about a mouse who lives in a windmill. Yeah, okay. See you again soon. Toodle pip.